Hello and welcome to This Machine Kills Fascist Netrunner. I'm Not Yeti, and this is going to be a tournament report. I'm going to talk about a lot of tournaments. Basically, all of regionals season has happened since I did my last video about the London regionals, and I've been kind of meaning to do a video about each of them, but some of them have had more things to say than others, and then I've been pretty busy. So we're going to cover 4 tournaments in this video and see how we go. So, um, the first uh, tournament to talk about was the online districts, the EMEA online districts, which I played in. For this tournament and for the subsequent tournament, I was playing my Knife Saber, which we'll come to in a minute, which is still as good as ever. But I was also playing this obelisk that Kikai made. So this is the deck that won the London regionals, where I came second. And I was super impressed by. I love playing Orb. I've played Orb at a lot of tournaments, and Kikai had like the most fun version of Orb, I think. Slash and Burn was probably my favorite card design that came out of Rebellion Without Rehearsal, and there's not a lot of time where you get to play Slash and Burn and Audacity and things like calibration testing. Um, so yeah, my contribution to this list was the Tranquility home grid, which Kiko really liked, and so we played some of that. The deck's gone through a couple of revisions with some changes, but I could not win a game with this deck in tournament. Basically, this deck had like something close to 100%, 90% win rate in Norwich, where I was testing against what I would consider to be the most competitively viable decks. A lot of Crew Hosh, a lot of uh, Bridgman Lat, and some Mulch, things like that. Decks that really considered to be kind of the creme de la creme of the meta, and I think it has absolutely fantastic matchups into all of those decks. This deck can really eat through anything that doesn't have like a lot of multi-access. Um, so I think this deck's really, really strong, but it has, I think, quite a bad matchup into Essa, Mercury, Hermes Tau, decks that are very disruption heavy and can really punish you for by stealing agendas on centrals, which I don't think a lot of like the good runners in the meta have a lot of that centrals pressure. Um, and turns out when you take it to tournament, you basically in the UK at least, I think, are gonna have to get through a couple of rounds of playing against, unless you get lucky, right? You can just get a good tournament where you have all good matchups, but I think for a lot of tournaments you're gonna have to be able to win some number of games against Essa, which I think Kikai has demonstrated he's perfectly capable of doing. But I can't. Code Bubbles, I think, had the same feeling with this deck, and I think a lot of EA Sports have differing levels of this opinion. But really, really fun deck, but does have some tough matchups. And I don't like losing to Herbie's Tau, so I put the deck back down. I played this at the online districts where I came dead last. I dropped after 3 rounds to go spend the first sunny day of the year in a pub garden. And then I also played this deck at the Reading Regionals, where my Sail deck did really, really well, but again, the Orb let me down. And I dropped from that tournament as well to play in the final round. I was like not having a great time playing this deck in tournament, despite the fact that it is really, really good. Um, I think, yeah, probably the most fun, straight fun Netrunner deck I've played in like a really long time. And if you're watching this before the big rotation, like get some games in of this like take it to the pub, play some games. This is really really fun, worth playing. But yeah. So moving on from that, we then get kind of to the meat of the video, which is starts with the Nottingham regionals. So this is probably what, like 4 or 5 weeks ago at this point, um, and we've got a lot of the crew traveling in. It's Cobra Bubble's birthday, and we decided that basically we would have a bunch of us come up, and we'd go to the pub the night before and have kind of a like fun evening of it, basically just have a good time. Um, and so we end up like trying to get advice from locals who play around there, and we end up going to this really crusty metal pub, which like Kikai and I really liked, but I don't think was the broader vibe. So we ended up leaving there, going to somewhere else with incredibly loud music playing that was like awful. It might be the worst pub I've been to in a really long time. I can't remember what it was called. Um, that recommendation was terrible. But we ended up going to this really, really nice pub. Actually, I can't remember what it was called, but at that point we had like a big group of people. Max Chunky Seal recommended it and said it was his mum's favorite pub, and clearly has very good taste. And I ordered a cider that was the worst drink I've maybe ever had in my entire life. The original barman sold it to me with like a totally straight face. And when I took it back to complain, the second barman was like, "Yeah, I wouldn't drink this if you paid me. This drink is here as a joke." So I didn't get my money back. But eventually we went to the kind of main attraction of the Nottingham Regional, which was Billy Bootleggers, which I mentioned in my last Nottingham video, although I think it had a different name back then, which had really been built up in the minds of EA Sports players as the destination to go to. Um, and it's just like a bar attached to like a small music venue. It's like very normal place, but we ended up there, and we stayed there like far too late. At one point, I was drinking my drink underneath the table. Uh, at a certain point, I think around 2 a.m., he kind of bought a round of Jaeger bombs. I'd never had a Jaeger bomb before, but I don't think you're supposed to drink them at 2 a.m. Maybe you're only supposed to drink them at 2 a.m. I don't know. But yeah, basically, get back to the hotel room at some point, probably around 3 in the morning, um, and wake up for the tournament, go get some breakfast, and we are like to a man, really hungover. I think there are 8 people from EA Sports playing in the tournament, and with the exception of like 2 or 3 of us, yeah, we're all just like totally spent. So I managed to like eat the breakfast, but I'm not necessarily feeling good about it. Um, but we get to the venue, we register our decks. I am playing. Oh, wrong side. I'm playing Knife Sable, um, which I think most people watching this will be familiar with now. This is the same Sable list that I've been playing. For this tournament, I actually didn't play with these Dr. Nukas, I played with Diesels. This deck is really good. I have really enjoyed kind of making this work, and it's like one of the benefits of having this kind of what I think everyone would agree is like a fairly stale meta, is that I got to spend that time on a deck that wasn't strong enough to like get my attention under normal circumstances, I don't think. But what is able to, I think, with like the refinement and practice that I put in, really put up results. Worth saying as well, I put up a write up for this recently called Ding Dang. There's a song linked at the start of that write up. If you haven't listened to that song, go and read the write up. Go and listen to that song. It will change your life. It's an experience. But yeah, basically, I continue to play as Knife Sable. There are almost no changes to this list from the previous versions I've played. I stopped playing the mining accidents and went back to the Nukas and M testings because they are less. Uh, the corpse can play around mining accident, and I think good corp players don't let you get bad publicity off the mining accidents. Um, in a lot of games. So they're blank cards there, whereas the Mamie is never blank. Basically, that's my feeling. So then, having had my brief foray into the world of the Obelisk, I go back to the old faithful, the Asmari, Murder deck, totally unchanged from the previous versions I played of this at the CBI. Um, Basically, everybody in EA Sports stopped playing this deck in tournament, exclusively for the reason that it was boring to play the same deck that we'd been playing for the last year. Um, it had won the CBI, which I'm very happy about, and I think that for a lot of people, the feeling was that we'd achieved our goal of demonstrating that the deck was like the best deck. It won the biggest tournament, um, and that was like it done what it needed to do. But it's like a very linear deck that I think people were tired of playing. That's one of the reasons why I moved over to the OB was just for a change, and then I realized that actually like I'm enough of a spike that what I really enjoy is winning games of Netrunner. And so I should play what is the best deck for this meta, which is the Asmari. It's got good matchups across the board. The only exception being Bridgman's Lat. I think somebody piloting the Bridgman Lat list who doesn't know the matchup um, will struggle a little bit. But if they've played 2 or 3 practice games, or if they just have history against Asmari or are a decent Lat player, they should, I think, take this most times. The fun of the Asmari is that it is sufficiently consistent that a lot of the time you should know the outcome of the game before it starts. Really, um, I use the word fun. Other people might not like that, but I quite like knowing my matchups. So yeah, playing these 2 decks, I'm like as familiar as it's possible to be with them. There are no surprises for me going into this. Um, so, but the difficulty is just the fact that I am uh, hungover as anything. Like literally the most hungover I've probably been in like years. um, and we sat there during the like TO spiel at the start, and my friend Ace Empress sees me across the room with like my head in my hands and like kind of looking a bit shaky and sipping on some water. She gives me some painkillers, which are good but aren't going to take immediate effect. And I'm basically just like dreading playing in round 1 of this tournament, uh, which is amazing when in the 31-person tournament or 33-person tournament, I can't remember, I get the round 1 bye. So I do not have to go and play round 1. I get to go lie down on the sofa, watch Cobra Bubbles throw a game of Netrunner He in like spectacular fashion, which was very entertaining but very frustrating at the same time, and allow those painkillers and like my food to digest and basically get to a point where I could start to play some real Netrunner. We're as I kind of mentioned, EA Sports is a quarter of the field in this event, so we know there's going to be a lot of team kills. And in round 2, I get paired against Ollie, who is playing Crew Hosh. Now, the Crew Hosh Asmari matchup is really, really interesting. We are teched to the gills for Crew Hosh. We've got Wraparound for Crew Hosh, we've got Mavirus for Crew Hosh. We've got everything in there specifically to deal with this one deck, and also Mulch. And like it, but there's a lot more Crew Hosh around than there is Mulch. Um, and, and we yeah, basically get a good start. I think it's like a very close game. It comes down to needing to have specific ice on the remote, but I believe that we get there, we combo kill out the remote, and we get the win against Ollie, which is really good. So 2 rounds in, only have to play 1 game of Netrunner and win it was really nice. That matchup is way more even than you'd expect, given that I'm spending like somewhere in the realm of 9 influence on tech cards for it. Probably like 7 influence on specifically tech for that matchup. But yeah, that's where we are. After that, play against Maze Leylines on stream, who's playing the kind of sports metal that Dolbulb won the Reading Regionals with. That deck, I like made a lot of mistakes in my game against Dolbulb when we played in tournament, and I kind of learned from those. I also get the sickest knife sable draw, I think. There are turns 4, 5, and 6, I think, all involve diversion of funds and score a knife. And I win the game on turn 6 by landing all 3 knives, with May essentially unable to play the game from diversion of funds now. So that felt really good. Then we have the lunch break. I can't really remember what I ate in Nottingham, but round 4 I go and I play against Kikai. Now, at this stage, Kikai is coming off of 2 back-to-back tournament wins. He won the Circuit Breaker Invitational and he won the London Regionals. And he's playing this ob deck that he's got a lot of confidence in, and my knife sable matchup into this ob deck is like pretty terrible. So we don't feel great about the Kikai matchup, but we do play it. We are both really, really tired and hungover. I think he said that he got like a warning from a judge for slow play because he was so tired. Kikai, I think, is a super interesting person to play against as a criminal. He plays much more defensively than I think most people do against criminal. I think he's got uh, a really good play style, and if you don't know it, you'll get punished. I think that I made some mistakes in this game, but ultimately I lost in a way that I kind of would have predicted. I think I got 4 or 5 points, but um, yeah, we're trying to knife, and I wasn't even close to doing that. So Kiko wins this one, which is unsurprising. The man's on a like total tear. Um, Round 5, I play against Ace Empress. She and I have played in like a bunch of tournaments with this matchup of my Asmari into their Hiko, and I like uh know that it's one of those ones where she thinks she has a good matchup, but I think I end up squeaking out most of the wins. So she's got like a little bit of a chip on her shoulder, maybe. She's coming in here ready to win this game, like really ready to. And we play one of, I think, the sickest Asmari games I've played in a long time. I have both Magnet and Rotor Turret unresed on the remote server, and she's able to play around both of them um, and like predicts the order correctly in order to get into my remote server when I'm pushing the win. And it's one of those ones where she just plays it brilliantly um, to get into that remote server. Now, this is like an Anacam deck, right? So we can't really punitive the Anacam decks. Sometimes like Arasana will go down low on hand size when making these runs, and whilst Ace Empress did play a lot of cards from hand that turn, manages to end on 5 cards in hand with an Anacam installed. I have double punitive in hand. I don't have money for triple, um, and uh, yeah, basically I'm gonna fire a punitive on like the very off chance that I do it, but it's a tempo punitive. Like I'm knocking some answers out of hand because stuff like Symbol Chip is going to be really big, and then I'm gonna jam whilst she's low on cards, and maybe I can like do a better punitive in a turn or two when because if she wants to try and challenge this thing in the remote server and get into and like stay safe from punitive, that would be really hard. We fire the value punitive. Um, I turn over the cards one at a time. I don't hit an event. The other 2 cards in hand are both events, which Fern tells me afterwards is a 1 in 10 chance for me to hit the 3 cards I did, which I'm very happy about. But that's why I get to fire the second punitive and win the game on a pretty totally undeserved punitive win. Um, so better lucky than good, as always. Then that's on stream as well, which is very funny. I hope that that game has a good kind of life to it. Very fun. Um, Round 6, I play against Lifeline, and they are playing NEH, which is like Knife Sable's favorite matchup. We love to pair up against NEH. But I also know that I lose to Lifeline, and the way that I lose to Lifeline is that they make really ballsy plays as with an NBN deck. There's a lot of agendas go on the table. There's a lot of stuff like that, because they are correctly reading that like I have as the runner, I'm like playing in a deck that's going to aggressively try and close the game, and they need to do commit to some riskier lines in order to get the tempo that they need to win the game. So I know all of this going into it. So what I am doing is I am just doing my normal game plan, and I am basically checking everything that goes on the table. Like as stuff comes through, I am really trying to check it. Um, there are a couple of agendas that come out of the remote server, but I'm broadly like on top of the game. I'm really slow to draw my knives, but I feel like I'm in control enough of the situation that it's going okay. Um, at one point, I get to steal 2 points. I land my first knife. I draw the other 2 knives and now have all of them in hand, and I just need to um, close the game out in 2 turns. But we've been in this position, this like end game state, for a long time, and Lifeline knows that I probably am going to draw the win at some point. And so I have the turn where I land my second knife. I run HQ, installing the knife, run archives, run R&D, right? On top of R&D, I see a degree mill. I want 2 points. I have loads of stuff on the table, and I think there's an agenda in the remote server, right? I think that Lifeline has pushed the remote agenda in the remote, and if it isn't an agenda in the remote, I think that Lifeline has put a naked agenda elsewhere on the table, right? So I know there are agendas in play. I see 3 points on the top of the deck that I can basically steal guilt free, right? Um, but I think to myself, okay, well, I have knife win guaranteed next turn. I don't need to steal these points, right? Because I want to check both of them. So I don't. I run the remote server. I get in, and it's another degree more, and I have to steal that one because they're going to be able to score it next turn if I don't. So I have 1 click left. I've landed my second knife. I'm gonna win next turn. And I've got 1 click going spare. There's 1 card on the table. There are 2 cards on the table I haven't checked. One of them's been there a while. One of them's brand new. And so I decide in my infinite wisdom to run back on R&D and just try and close the game. Force and just do it. Just like use my last click to do that. This was a mistake. When I started the turn, I knew that I was going to run all 3 central servers and check both of the new cards on the table. But because I knew it was a degree on the top of the deck, I decided not to do that. It turns out that Lifeline had just put 2 agendas on the table. So if I'd if I'd done my original plan of checking both remotes, I would have stolen 6 points regardless of what happened. Because I ran all the centrals, I had my second knife. If I'd stolen the degree mill on the top of R&D and then run the remote server, I would have won the game because I would have got all the points I need. But instead, what ends up happening is that last click I run R&D where there's a degree mill on top. Lifeline reses the spin doctor. I whiff my access. Reses the hollow man, moves it over, scores a 5-3 on the table, wins the game. I don't know if I want to call it a throw, right? I started my turn with a plan. I forgot that plan like halfway through the turn because there was a lot of information and face down cards, and I got out duked. I don't know if I misplayed. I think you could very easily call it misplayed, but I think I just got outplayed basically, or I outplayed myself. I'm not sure, but we lose that game, which is very sad. So now we're 4-2 going into round 7. We need to win the final game in order to go through. I'm kind of feeling like mostly recovered at this point, just like tired and out of it, but mostly fine. I play a knife sable game against. No, I play a Asmari game against Maze who I played against earlier in the tournament. And she sits down and I think is like visibly a bit scared playing against the Asmaria Sable. Now, she knows that she wants to make central accesses, doesn't want to accidentally steal the genders. I look at my opening hand and I can like start to do my normal stuff, push a Rashida, all that. Um, and then like click one of the game, she Carpe DMs R&D and steals a re-education off the top, which is pretty bad for me because she has a lot of options for getting her money up at this stage and can just like I think quite safely steal this one, um, which she does. Um, and then next turn, she directly launches R&D, sees another re-education off the top of the deck, and steals it. Now she's spent some money at this point. I have a lot more money. Um, and there's basically two ways this goes, right? She either installs the class act, at which point I think she wins the game. Like, Sable can probably break my remote server one time. I haven't had the best start, and I need to draw a re-education, which is like now there's only one copy left in my deck. Um, but she doesn't have the class act, and I do have triple punitive in hand, and I'm able to kill her on turn like 3. Um, so we get on that one lucky again as Asmari, but largely unscathed. So at this point, we make the top cut, and over the cut to top 8, 6 of the players in the top 8 are from EA Sports, uh, which is a wild number. I managed to make top half as well, so I get to pick sides for this top cut. And I'm playing against King Solomon round 1, who has a Nuvem deck, and that Nuvem deck, for reasons that I don't quite understand, um, is running like 6 cards that give bad publicity. And as Knife Sable, bad publicity is like the greatest thing in the entire world. I think like you could call, if you were running into like a field of entirely reg prim and like mulch, if that was your read, or maybe like S's and mulches, um, you can play some bad pub. Maybe you can get away with playing outfit, but into a field where there's like actual shaper decks and this knife sable, which I think is an unlucky matchup for you to get. You can't play bad pub. We have a brief conversation, and Solomon expresses that he's like surprised I picked this matchup. He's like, oh, I think this favors Nuvem, um, which is good because I think it means he's going to play his bad pub cards, and he does just play his bad pub cards. I make some like wacky choices. I can't remember why. I think maybe a hubris thing, but I run through a hammer like 4 times. I think I face check it early on to land a doof with like no consequences, and then rather than clear the tag and deal with stuff, I just like keep laying on the pressure. We get to a point where I lose a knife, and Solomon gains like a level of confidence that my win condition's offline. But I just wait for him to score to 4 points, at which point I use alarm clock to run HQ, bypass the hammer, reinstall my knife, land the knife, win the game next turn, before he had the chance to do anything. So very, very fun, super silly game of Netrunner, like one of the dumbest games of Netrunner I've played in a while. I think we both had a really good time. Like, yeah, a real laugh. I really, really enjoyed that game. Um, and we get to move on to the second round of the cup. Now, I get paired up against Ollie, who I played in Swiss, and we are replaying the Crew Hosh Asmari match. I played Ollie in the finals of Bristol Regionals last year, where he beat me playing Asmari. He's got a lot of Asmari reps. Um, and so, yeah, this is like, he's EA Sports. Everyone left in the tournament is EA Sports now, which is very fun. And yeah, we basically need to like overcome someone who's like I probably have like a very even record against Ollie, but like I know that he can just beat me sometimes. Um, and yeah, but I've already won this matchup today, so that we hope it goes well. We're having a very close game. I pushed the win in the remote server behind 3 pieces of ice, and he doesn't have a world where he can get into that server, I don't think. Um, and I've managed to ice HQ. I think I feel like safe from everything. Like I feel safe from all sorts. And then he plays Tread Lightly and runs the remote server. I do the maths quickly, and in order to res the three, I need to res all 3 pieces of ice to keep them out of the server. And in order to do that with the Tread Lightly, I will go down to 0 credits. With the win in the remote, and I don't think with prospects of him like getting in there anytime soon. Um, I don't think about it for very long before rising all of the ice and going down to 0 credits. I think in hindsight, um, I should just let him through. I don't think I had a world where I could have punitive killed him. I don't think I was threatening that, but I had the second re-education in hand, and my next turn could have been install advanced re-education, do something else to help like win the game. Know that he's only got 1 copy of that, and that I'm going to be able to res all this ice and keep him out. But instead I went really poor. It takes me like 3 or 4 turns to get back to the point where I'm pushing the agenda again. At which point he steals another 3 points from HQ. On the final click of his turn, he runs R&D. He has to see an agenda here in order to not be out of the tournament. And on the final runner click of the game, he steals 3 points to the top of the deck and wins. It wasn't bad odds. It was like a 1 in 3 for him to win there. But a sad way to go out. All said and done, I end up in 3rd place. Kikai wins his 3rd tournament in a row. And these are like pretty real tournaments. Like CBI is obviously massive, but both of these regionals that he's won, one was more than 40 people. This one's like 33 people. The man is on fire, like just doing incredibly well. And we go out for pizza, drive back home, feel pretty good about the whole thing. Really nice. After a couple of like pretty poor performances, I was happy with that. And then we have a couple of weeks to between then and Cambridge districts. Now I'm involved in organising this one. I booked the venue and that kind of stuff, but Kikai has done all the hard work. He's not playing in this tournament, which means that we don't have to worry about our Kikai matchup, which I think genuinely I might be at the point where if he had been playing, I would have picked my decks with the expressed intention of having good matchups into him with some level of confidence that I could manage the rest of the field. But instead, we're like, we don't have to worry about that. So we have like a good clear shot at it. So yeah, and we go out the night before. Davs 131 and Nervous Nightjar, who are 2 of like the best players in France, are EA Sports players, and they are over for this one because this is like home turf. So that's really nice. I get off work. I work in Cambridge, so I could just leave off work at 4, go see all of them. We go hang out in the pub. We eat some really, really lovely pizza. Like 20 people turn up to the night before drinks for the tournament. And like for me, that's like essentially been the goal of Netrunner for like a while. Like most of the people are probably EA Sports, right? But there's a lot of people who aren't. And like I just really love the thing of everyone like making a weekend of it, come down for the tournament. It kind of like uh yeah, regionals for me has been like fantastic for all of those kind of community things. Nottingham and Cambridge were just fantastic for people hanging out and like just having a really wonderful time. Um we don't even stay up that late. We go to bed around midnight. And I'm not hungover. We go to this lovely cafe for breakfast in the morning. Go over and get the venue sorted out. We've got some new players in the tournament who are really lovely. Get to meet. And yeah, for this tournament, I decide to put those nukers into the Sable deck for no other reason than um, I have some alt arts for them, and I want to change a card in my deck. the Saber deck is better with Diesel than Nuka. I kind of knew this going into the tournament, although I argued the toss about it like a whole bunch. Um, really, the Diesels are going to be better, but it's fine. Like the Nukas are not a sufficiently large downgrade. So yeah, in this tournament, it's a 32-person tournament, and 16 of the players are from EA Sports, which is crazy to think. Like EA Sports is like a regionally based testing group for the most part, um, and so it makes sense we're on home turf. There are like a lot of us, but there weren't even 16 players in EA Sports last year, and this wasn't even everybody. Like, um, but yeah, basically what it means is we've got a lot of team kills on the way to victory at this one. So round one, I play against Nervous Nightjar, who is over from France, and he is playing Essa. Now, my Essa matchup as the Asmari, I think, is very favoured. I talked to Dabs131 a bit about it, and he says that like he practiced a lot with Tuno for the matchup, and whilst the Asmari is favoured, it might be closer than you think. But Tuno is also like very good and has done a bunch of deliberate practice where I don't think most ESSA players have gone through that process of practicing the Asmari matchup. Um, and yes, so I'm pretty favoured. I get Magnet as my first ice in this game. Um, I don't realise that these Essas aren't running botches necessarily, but at one point, Oko has to spend 7 credits to break a Magnet with a Lamb. But it doesn't matter. We get to combo kill out the remote. My Neurospikes are really far down in the deck, and the Essa Sabotage really helped me get to them in time, and I'm able to do it. I think there's like a little bit of risk on my push that if the bottom 2 cards of the deck are both Neurospike, then I lose, but it's unlikely when we get there. Round 2, play against Ish, and he's playing Asa. I really like Ish. We've chatted a bunch at a few tournaments. During the Mulligan phase, because like when you play against Asa, you're not quite sure what type of Asa you're playing against. And in the Mulligan, he jokes about playing salvo testing, or about mulliganing away 2 salvo testings, which is really useful because now I know that he is on that he's on core damage, and I also know that I can't face check a Jaguar Rundy without losing the game. My first run of the game, I still a salvo testing, I think, so maybe I would have found out this information on my own. Anyway, by the end of the game, I have like 2 knives, 2 nightmare archives, and like 6 agendas in my score area, which is like very funny. But ultimately, we win the game by stealing points. I think I would have got to the knife like in a turn. Round 3, we have to play against Dabs131, who I think it would be pretty easy to argue is like the best player in Europe if you exclude the UK. There might be some Italians who aren't that who would pop a fight for that, but like I think David very 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 possibly best player in Europe. He's playing BCP Asmari, which he's very good at. I spent some of the week before practicing this matchup because I anticipated there be some amount of it after Cobalt won the Sheffield regionals, I think, playing it. And I have like such a silly like basically the practice told me that the thing we need to do is contest the remote early. Trashing Rashida, but especially stealing any of the 4-2s out of the remote server in the early game, gonna make this like winnable. So turn 1, I boomerang run the remote and trash Rashida. Turn 2, I boomerang run the remote, trash Rashida. And turn 3, he install advances a card in the remote server. And I have Cat's Cradle, and I can install it, run the remote, and get to that card, which I'm pretty convinced is going to be an Offworld or a BCP. So I play the Cat's Cradle, I run the remote server, I go to 0 credits in the process, and I access a degree mill. Now, I've just spent a lot of resources to get to this degree mill, and I don't think about it for very long before I decide to steal. That I think was when I lost that game. It gets me to 3 points, and I get to 5 points on centrals, but my economy never recovers, and like the self growth program tricks. There's a market forces that really screws me up at one point during the game. Um, I never get back to a point where I get into it, and he is able to scrappily pull it across the line. I talked to him about it afterwards, and I think we both agreed that it was like a pretty terrible game of Netrunner on both sides. Like, not the finest hour, but um, but I really really love playing against David, so I was like happy to do it. Um, as a tangent, actually, the Davs 131 EA Sports origin story is that he and I met at uh, Worlds 2023 in Barcelona. We played near the end of Swiss and split, I think, near the end of Swiss. Um, and for the rest of like the day or whatever it was, we would just like catch up between rounds and chat a lot. And then on Discord afterwards, we chatted a bunch and kind of like kept in contact. Um, and it was on the return trip from Barcelona that we founded like EA Sports, or like agreed to be a testing group. Um, and David and I were talking like 6 months later or whatever. I was like, oh, it's so nice to be in a testing group, to have all these people around to like bounce ideas off and whatever. Um, and he was like, sure would be nice to be in a testing group. Until eventually I took the hint and we invited him, which is fun. Everyone, I think, is really, really happy with that decision. Um, uh, round four, I play against Asempris again. Now, they are, we play the exact same side. They're still on Akiko. I'm still on Asmari. We've just played this thing at the last tournament we were at, where I totally cheesed the win and got incredibly lucky. And we've played this a lot of times, and she is like clearly out for blood. And so we go, we play, and I get the perfect 4 turn 12 click Asmari win. It's turn one, draw Rashida, install a piece of ice. Turn two, YDL, install in the remote, install a piece of ice. Turn three, install the Hollow Man, advance a card, do something else, and then last tick of the game, or last turn of the game, Hollow Man, advance, Neurospike. Um, which is exactly how we would draw it up. That would be every game if I could. Um, it's like I got, not only did I get the perfect draw, which the deck does like more often than other decks get their perfect draw. Um, it, she installed a compilation on like turn one or two and made like 4 or 5 good HQ accesses and missed the Neurospike every time. There are a few cards trashed in there as well, so the odds of finding the Neurospike are pretty good. Um, but yeah, if the like way of beating the Asmari deck is find the tech piece in your opening hand and access the combo piece, um, by turn four, like I think it's totally acceptable for the Asmari to win the game of that. Like I got a little lucky, but I think she said something along the lines of there was like 40% odds of her not accessing the agenda, which is good enough for me. And yeah, um, so we win that game, and we get a bit of a break. Um, round five, I play against Chonky Seal, and then this is where the things start to go wrong for me. Chonky Seal's playing Ag. He's just beaten Kami Kami and Ashbo, who are teammates of mine, with this Ag Infusion. And the Sable does not have a good Ag Infusion matchup. And it is a fast Ag Infusion that is looking to land a Clearinghouse in the remote. I think his deck listed the weak at the moment. And I know I'm going to lose against this deck. Like, I don't think I actually have a out against Max on Ag. I'm so looking forward to Ag going with rotation. Ag, whilst I don't think it's like, what do I think about Ag Infusion? I think Ag Infusion, like, was a cool deck. It was very strong. I don't necessarily think it was like that oppressive, but it was very good, and it happened to win every game against Criminal. Like, it just had, due to the way that its cards worked, essentially a 100% win rate against every Criminal deck. Um, and had that for years and years and years. And I think that's just an unfortunate consequence of the way in which those decks worked and the weaknesses that Criminal has had the whole time I've been playing the game. But yeah, I don't think I've ever won a game in tournament against an Ag Infusion as a Criminal. Um, and so yeah, when it rotates, I think that's actually going to be the biggest thing that Criminals get in rotation, is that they don't have to risk running into the Ag in tournament. I do play a really fun game where I potentially can get into the remote server and trash that clearinghouse if um, Max names event on a Sisentan fire. I roll up to a Sisentan with 4 cards in hand. They are all hardware. Um, and he'd called event on every Sisentan up to now. Um, and I knew that basically the only way I was getting into this remote server is to tank a Sisentan hit and have him call event. Um, and I get to the Sisentan, he names event. Then he says very quickly, wait, wait, wait. Stops, picks up my heap, counts through all of the cards, thinks about my deck list, talks out loud about what numbers, ratios of cards he thinks I'm playing, and then says, hardware. And I say, very wise choice, showing my hand to lose the game. But I thought that was really cool. I thought that was a really, really, really lovely bit of netrunner there. And yeah, round 6, I play against Ali Flicks. I think that's her. Actually, no, she said she doesn't know how to pronounce her handle. So, yeah, who's playing Mercury, which is often a very good matchup for us. She's one of the new players, and she's doing really well. And ends up bubbling out of the tournament, but is doing just like incredibly well. We talked a little bit about her deck because we had like breakfast together, and um, she's kind of like revealed that she's actually really quite teched for this matchup. She kind of said that going into the tournament, this is her first tournament, she was like worried about the Asmari, had heard the rumors, knew what to expect, and so was playing Stoneship Chart Rooms, playing Steelskin Scarrings, and Banha, and so I'm actually like normally not nervous against a Mercury. I am nervous against this Mercury. We managed to get the combo set up in the remote um, pretty early on, and there is a turn where basically I don't think she can get into the remote um, without ending without cards in hand or like credits. And I don't think that she can like I think she might be able to get into the remote. If she does, I don't think she can survive punitives, which I have. That's kind of my read of the situation. My thought process is essentially it's Mercury. I think her line has to be try and get this generator out of the remote server and steal more points from elsewhere, which I don't think is like good odds, but I think that's the line. Instead, she like draws up and basically says, um, I have to play as if you're not holding the Neurospike, which is a really interesting decision, and potentially not the worst line. Um, and yeah, basically, I'm able to then get the combo kill. Um, so we're in that same spot again. We've got 2 losses, and we've got a winning in. Round 7, I get paired against Matono, who is also playing Esser, so my second Esser of the day. I still think this matchup really favors me, and it all goes well. There aren't really any points during the game where things go wrong, and I think that's been basically true across the whole of Swiss. Is that every game went the way that it was supposed to go? I think um, except for maybe the Asmari game against David, which even if he's favoured to win that game, it shouldn't have gone down the way it did. But Yeah. So we make the cut. Only 5 EA Sports players in this cut, which, given that it's like is overperforming, given we were half the field, we're more than half the cut, but not by much. And especially given how well we did at Nottingham. Um, yeah, notably the OB players like don't manage to cut here. The ESSA players do, and I think that was like pretty correlated. Um, I get top half, I get to pick sides again, and I get paired up against David. So rather than play Sable into the Asmari again, I decide that I will play Asmari into his Essa. Um, so this is a sand team kill, and like not the best. We get to go sit outside for this one. The room had been getting like increasingly warm throughout the course of the day, and it was like a really nice day. So we took all the tables outside, played the first round of the cut, like in the breeze, which was really lovely. We had loads of spectators around, which was really, really sick. Um, I think it's the closest essay game of the day by far. Um, I have an early push into the remote, which he contests and ends up face tanking a rotor turret and losing his cupellation, which was pretty big for me. Um, I'm able to get to the point where I'm pushing the kill. And so he just starts laying on the sabotage, and 12 points go into archives. Um, and he could have run it that turn, I think. I don't know if he would have been able to actually steal enough because of degree mills, making it hard without installables. But next turn, I'm able to push the win in the remote server and stick Klavetnik on archives. He's respecting the win, and he goes, fine, ban her archives, stick one, run archives, res the Klavetnik, AM2, effectively winning the game off of a Klavetnik res. And from that, I think he runs off centrals, and I'm able to get both the punitive kill and the combo kill. I can't actually remember how that game ends, but I win. Round 2 of the cut, I play against Bart. They are also playing Essa, so this is my 4th Essa game of the day. A slightly different Essa, but I have pretty straightforward combo kill out the remote. Essa performed really well in this tournament because it had a really good Ob matchup, and then I think Asmari performed really well in this tournament because it had a good Essa matchup, which is quite funny, I think, overall. And about halfway through this game, I'm feeling very confident that I've won, or at least like the decision space for me isn't that big. So I start doing that thing you're not supposed to do of watching the other cut game to try and figure out who I'm going to have to play in the finals. Um, and I'm very disheartened to see that Max Chunky Seal wins the game against Harmonby. Both of Harmonby's decks I would have been absolutely happy to play against in the finals. Um, but Mac, but I've rolled Corp twice in the cut, which means that I have to run in the finals, which means I have to play Sable into Ag Infusion, the one matchup in basically the entire field where I think I have 0% odds. So I go into the finals, um, and I basically know I'm going to lose this game, but I try and like get to a point of zen with it all where I like take his deck list, get my teammates to the side, crowd around it. He does the same with them, with the Midlands lot who really want revenge for the result in Nottingham, and so we have this I think really cool testing team dynamic where there's kind of like team against team finals, with one team on home turf, which I thought was really really fun, really cool. I know there are some people who don't love the testing team dynamic. I think that's like wrong. It's cool and fun. Um, but yeah, I don't play as well as I played in the first game against the Ag Infusion, and I lose pretty decisively in about 15 minutes. But it doesn't matter because Max already has the buy. He already won original, which means he's going to let this Mega City buy roll down. And so I now have a Mega City buy. And at UK Nationals, I will not be playing in round 1, which is lovely. Really happy. So yeah, in this tournament, in this regional season, I came second in 2 regionals, third in another, and last year I came second in Bristol. So I now have 3 second place finishes and a third place finish at regionals, and I don't have my first place finish. Still yet to win a tournament that's got more than about 16 people in it. Um, so I'm trying to gear up to get that first place finish, basically. Now at the spot where I need to, with elevation, I'm very much going to be looking to get to a spot where we take home the first place, hopefully at Omega City. Um, we shall see. We shall see. Right. Thank you very much for watching. Next week, I should have a video with some, or the week after, with some scoops. NSG have given me some scoops, so I'm looking forward to sharing those. And I'll continue to put together the Cobra Bubbles shorts. So hopefully there's plenty of TMKF. I got this done in just under an hour, which is good going actually. I was worried that this would spiral on forever. But yeah, two of my favorite times. I really enjoyed regional season. I got to just focus on some decks that I really like and play some like really tight net runner. I'm really looking forward to rotation. I'm not necessarily really looking forward to the new elevation cards. I'm still yet to see anything that I think uh moves the needle for me, but I am really looking forward to deck building in the new meta. Um Discovering through practice like what cards are actually like doing well. And yeah, have a bunch of stuff flipped on its head. So yeah, look forward to that. You'll probably hear a fair bit from me after the new cards come out. So catch you all later. Thank you very much. Bye.